do not forgive somebody who has hurt you, then it means you are telling God that deal with me as I've also dealt with that person.
Wow. If I train my child such that he comes out of school and he cannot do an alternative job, then I think as a parent, I am failing.
The midnight that you cannot sleep and thinking about this child, tell yourself, Lord, I hand over this my wayward child unto you.
It is not about the job the person is doing in terms of what we think. But at the end of the day, is it the will of God?
I think that it's very unhealthy for couples to be talking about breaking up and threatening them. It doesn't really solve. If the person is unrepentant, that cannot change it. Start with prayer.
One of the sickness that I pray to God everybody will get one in his life before they die and become a ghost is toothache. I don't know if you had toothache before.
I've had it before. You can't sleep.
The anointing doesn't solve it.
No.
Watch Weekend Family Review with Dollarich every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and a repeat at 7 p.m. Weekend Family Review, bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations.
Hello precious viewers, wow, welcome to yet another beautiful weekend with us here on GTV Live. And you know the program is Weekend Family Review Show with me, Evangelist Johnny called Dollarich, and today I'm so blessed having you watch the program. And you know, we still have our WhatsApp line up screen and our Facebook page, Weekend Review with Dollarich. Just get connected with us. Let's do the show together. And to remind you again, we have some of our videos on YouTube. So when you go to YouTube, you just type Weekend Family Review and you get to have some of the videos there to watch. And our core mandate has not changed. We still say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generation. That is our heartbeat, and that is our core mandate, that you and the family will live in harmony and will live in peace. We'll be taking a quick break. When we come, you get to meet my guest on set. But please, let's take this quick scripture as we do always. And today we want to look at Micah 7:8, and it's quite interesting. It says that, don't rejoice over me, my enemies, for when I fall, I shall rise up again. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. I don't know where the family has gotten to, but whoever that is laughing at you, trust me, if you hold the hands of the family together and you pray and you work out for the family beauty to be seen, the devil cannot throw anything against you anymore. Just be with the family, keep the family together, pray with the family, and ensure that the beauty of the family is together. We'll see you quick break after this break, but please call somebody to tune in to watch the program. We'll be right back after this break.
When you do not forgive somebody who has hurt you, then it means you are telling God that deal with me as I've also dealt with that person.
Wow. If I train my child such that he comes out of school and he cannot do an alternative job, then I think as a parent, I am failing.
Intercede in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, the midnight that you cannot sleep and thinking about this child. Tell yourself, Lord, I hand over this my wayward child unto you.
It is not about the job the person is doing in terms of what we think. But at the end of the day, is it the will of God? Is that what am I looking at pleasing God or looking at pleasing the people around us?
Once you get into marriage, unless it's a very threatening situation where life and death, is on the line, I think that it's very unhealthy for couples to be talking about breaking up and threatening them. It doesn't really solve. If the person is unrepentant, that cannot change it. Start with prayer.
Watch Weekend Family Review with Dollarich every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and a repeat at 7 p.m. Weekend Family Review, bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations.
You're welcome back, and thank you so much for staying on. And the program still continues, and it is the Weekend Family Review Show right here on GTV Live. And here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow generations. And I'm so blessed having these wonderful persons join me on set to do the discussion for today. And but please, we still have our WhatsApp line up screen and our Facebook page, Weekend Review with Dollarich. Just get connected with us. Let's do the show together. And as I said earlier, we have some of our videos on YouTube. So when you go to YouTube, you just type in Weekend Family Review. You got to have them to watch. And you know what? This is a beautiful month you are about to enter. The month of September. You cannot just be thrown away. It is a month full of God's glory. So wherever you are, please get the family together and ensure that whatever God has planned for the family, you can hold onto it and you can enjoy that beauty and that breakthroughs and that blessings and everything that God has for you. But today we really want to discuss something quite interesting. And but before I tell you the topic, let me get to introduce my guest on set. And on my immediate left is this beautiful woman. She's a powerful woman. She's a woman on fire for God. And she's in the person of Reverend Abena Nyameche, the pastor in charge of Alive Glory International Ministries, Fadama, and she's right here on set with me, and I want to welcome her. You're welcome. Thank you. How are you, please? You're looking all good. Wow. It's been a while. Yeah. Wow. We thank God. And on my far left is this, I don't know how to describe him, but he's my neighbor, though, and I'm so blessed having him on set. But this is his first time on set with us, so I'll give him the opportunity for him to tell us who he is and where he's coming from. So, Reverend, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And how are you, please?
I'm fine by his
Right,
grace.
okay, so let's get to know you, please.
Right. My name is Ejeku Ofosu.
Wow.
And I'm a Presbyterian minister. Currently, I am in charge of the Mount Sinai congregation in New Botiano.
Wow.
By next week, I'll be moving to Gethsemane.
Wow.
Not where Jesus suffered. But Gethsemane in English Manfum on the Kaswa Road to take charge of a congregation there.
Wow.
Yes, I am married.
Wow.
With 3 children.
Wow, that's powerful.
And I'm happy to see you as well.
I'm so blessed having you. Welcome once again.
Thank you, my brother.
Wow. And on that note, let's get to get the opportunity to invite somebody. So to invite somebody, because watching this, the kind of testimonies we are having on this show is so amazing. So please call somebody, also to call somebody to tune in to watch the program. But actually today we want to discuss spousal choices and regrets. Let me repeat that for you. Spousal choices and regrets. We are actually looking at where you make your choice of a partner, and along the line, when realities of life set in, then the kind of issues you have, sometimes whether to move forward or to stand where you are or to go back. You know, sometimes it's quite interesting. You hear some people yell, I've regretted marrying you. But today we see God will give us his grace and they will go through this. And then I know it's become very educational on this program and the kind of testimonies we are having. And people are rewriting their family life and stories. And I mean, they are making notes to ensure that the family is living in harmony. And that is our core mandate, is to bring the families together and reshape society for tomorrow's generation. So I'll go to my far left as a welcoming bit of it, so that he will tell us his bit or a start for us to take over. Reverend, welcome once again.
Thank you.
So now we are talking about spousal choices. Nobody forces you to marry whoever you married, and even if you were introduced to the person or the person was introduced to you, you still agreed to it. But realities of life, sometimes you get to a place, then you kind of like, why did I even marry this person in the first place? So your start, take for a start. Let's see.
Thank you very much, and once again, thank you for the opportunity. You know, when I saw the topic, it reminded me of the 3 very questions my late father asked me.
Wow.
Incidentally, they were the same question my mother also asked me when I told them I had finally made a choice. And then when I left my mother's place to my auntie's place, they were the same questions she also asked me.
Wow.
Now, amazingly, when I came back to Accra from the village and I visited my senior brother, he also asked me the same 3 questions.
Wow.
Then I went to my pastor, and guess what? He also asked me the same 3 questions.
Wow.
So I asked my wife, what did your mother ask you when you told her that you had made a choice? Then she said, she asked me that question, and that question. And it was the same question.
Wow.
Number one, my father asked me, where does she come from? That was the first question. And it was the same question that all of them asked me.
Wow.
Number two, is she a Christian? Talking about her religion. Number three, what work does she do?
Wow.
Having been in counseling for over 2 decades now, it's the same questions I have noticed parents asked whenever their children tell them that they have finally made a decision.
Wow.
Incidentally, none of them ever asked me, why do you want to marry? But then I think that in spousal selection, one very important question is to understand why we marry.
Why?
People come for counseling and I ask them, why do you want to marry? And they said, oh, and oh, and oh, and you can never have a very good answer.
Wow.
I believe that marriage is a covenant between God and somebody I am going to choose. And therefore, before I can make a right choice, I need to understand what marriage is. I believe marriage is a covenant.
Wow.
Number two, I believe marriage is built on love. And my definition of love, maybe you may not find it in any dictionary. I believe love is given without expecting anything in return.
That's right.
That is my belief about love. Love is given without expecting anything in return. So that if I'm entering into marriage, I'm choosing somebody and I'm talking about I love the person, it doesn't mean it's because I'm going to get something from that person necessarily. Now, if one is able to understand why we marry, then you can move to the next step by saying that if marriage is a covenant that God made according to Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, then I have to follow his steps. And his first step is to leave. Because the Genesis chapter 2:24 says that you leave, you cleave, and you become naked. So the first step is that you have to leave. And how do I leave? I leave by knowing who should a spouse be.
Wow.
Who should a spouse be? And I base that on Psalm 73 verse 28. I'll just paraphrase it and then talk about 3 things there. There are 3 things I find in there. Number 1, a spouse ought to be somebody who have a relationship with God.
Wow. This is deep.
A spouse is somebody who is supposed to have a relationship with God. Number 2, if you read that Psalms carefully, a spouse ought to be somebody who trusts in God. So in choosing a spouse, the question is, does that person have a relationship with God?
Wow.
Does that person trust God? Then number 3, is that person ready to declare God's mercy?
Wow.
Now, if I'm able to do this, then let me just talk about this, that I need to ask myself, what are my timings? What are my timings? What is that person's timing? I need to define my time. And then if I have a time, is that person ready to go according to my time? Because Dollarich, I believe that in making these selections, if you are not careful, which is a situation which has become a big problem in our society, and your courtship travels beyond 2 years, you have a problem. Whoa. 1, it is going to lead you into premarital sex. And for us Christians, Bible says no fornication.
Even
Once
2 years is even too much.
Fine. And I'm saying that if you are able to restrict and put Satan behind you every day, Satan get behind me, Satan get behind me. After 2 years, you find yourself, graduating.
That's the word.
You graduate, and the next moment after fornicating, the next thing that comes in is that if you are not careful, you enter into cohabitation.
Wow.
And it is so alarming. The last time I heard about population census, I learned I think over 1 million people or so were cohabiting.
This is serious.
Some have up to 4 children, 5 children, and they are not married.
Wow.
So I believe that if it comes to spousal selection or choices, we need to understand what marriage is.
Wow.
We need to know who a spouse is supposed to be. I need to set my time. And once I am able to do this, I will choose somebody that will not bring any regrets in the future.
This is deep. I'll come back to you.
Thank you, my brother.
And the program still continues, and it is the Weekend Family Review Show right here on GTV Live. Here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generation. For Reverend Jeku to set the tone for us, you know things are going to happen. I'll go to my very pretty Reverend Abuna Nyameche, and she will also do an adapt, and they will take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're
Thank you for the opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah, to add to what Reverend said, another thing you have to know is you have to know the purpose of marriage. Your purpose of marriage. Because right from the creation, when you look at what God did for Adam, it was just to be a helpmate. To be a helpmate. So for you to be able to choose, number one, I think you, the person who is going to do the choosing or the selection, you have to know yourself.
Wow.
Who am I?
Who am I?
What is my purpose in life? What are my goals in life? What do I want to do in future? In the next 10 years, where am I going to be?
Whoa.
So these things will help you. You know your purpose in life. You know your visions. You know whom you are. It will help you to make the right choice, because you know that this lady or this guy that I'm going to choose, number one, is he or she going to be a helpmate? Just as what the Bible said.
That's right.
A helpmate. Am I going to be able to help this guy to reach his destination?
That's right.
Is this lady going to help me to reach my destination?
Good questions to
Because
ask.
because we have been created on purpose. We are living here on earth on assignment.
Wow.
On assignment. We're not just dropped down. But God brought us here for a purpose and for a reason. And I believe the reason why God wants us to get into marriage and so on and so forth is because we are going to become partners.
Wow.
So after knowing that, then before you choose, you see, there are process. These days, we don't want to go through the process, but we just want to inherit the promise, which it doesn't work for us. We need to go through the process of being friends. Okay, it should start with friendship. Today, you see somebody, you just see one act, and then you propose to the person, or you make a choice, this is the lady I want to be with. No, you have to go through the process. The process of being friends. Are we in church, the same community, at workplace? Where do we find ourselves? Are we friends? Do I really know you? What have I seen in you that I want to choose you? So after being friends, then we move from the friendship to dating. Okay, whereby we can invite ourselves, we sit at a place, we talk, maybe we have a dinner, we are friends, but we've moved from the friendship to another level. All these things, we are getting to know each other well. I haven't proposed yet. I haven't made the choice yet. Okay, we are going through the process. So by the time I open my mouth to tell you, you are my choice, I want to be with you, I know whom I am making my...
Wow.
I know. So it has to do with me going to do the choice. I have to know myself. I have to know my vision. I have to know my purpose in life. I have to know that the person that I'm going to approach, the person that I want to be with throughout my life. We are talking about your life. Probably maybe you may be at the age of 25 or at the age of 30 and you want to live maybe 90 years. Okay, let's say 90 years. And here you are 25, going to make a life choice at the age of 25. So you have 75 years to live with
The person.
The person. So it's a serious matter. It's something you need to prayerfully.
It's not for jokes.
It's not for jokes. You need to prayerfully. You need to pray. And you yourself, you have to study yourself to know where you are going. And study the lady also, or the guy also. Are we going the same direction? When Reverend was talking, he made mention about either the person is a Christian, if you are a Christian. Meaning we are having one faith.
That's right.
We are one faith. So after finding out that we have one faith, can we live together? Do we have this purpose? What is her purpose? What is my purpose?
That's right.
Can we blend it together? Can we live throughout our lives? We need to ask ourselves questions. And then ask the lady or the guy also questions. Study yourself. Then after that, go through the process, please. Go through it, and after going through it, you get to know whether this lady or this guy is a good material that we can blend together.
Wow.
Yeah,
this is powerful, and I don't know about you, but I'm already humbled right here because from what is happening, a lot of us haven't gotten the right footstep into whatever that we've been doing. But today we can sit back and rewrite our notes and adjust where we can do the adjustment and mend and amend and do all the corrections that we can do. But we are actually discussing spousal choices and regrets, where you choose somebody you voluntarily, by your own will and choice, even if the person, like I normally say, if the person was even introduced to you or you were introduced to the person, you still had a choice. It doesn't, I don't think anybody forces anyone on. It is our choice that we actually go through all these processes. But if there are some regrets here and there, we want to ask God's grace that here God will find that grace so that we'll be able to live in harmony. And because the core mandate of this program is to bring the families together and to reshape society for tomorrow's generation. And that is what we are looking at. You made some 3 key points from the beginning. Where is he or she coming from? Is he or she a Christian? And what work does the person do? I believe this is the fundamental thing that we all have to look at, because if any parent or every parent want the best for their children, the welfare of their children, and if your son or your daughter is going into any relationship, because of security, because of protection and all that, you really want the best for your child. But today's young men and young women, do we really factor these things into? Because we look at the person is beautiful, he's handsome, maybe for work, what he does, fine, we want to look at it. But sometimes to whether the background, where she's coming from, well, we don't really care. I love him, I love her. And as to whether he's a Christian or non-Christian, we just want to hang out, and I think some of these things can lead to regrets. I don't know where your take can be.
If you look at the story of Rebecca and Isaac and Rebecca, you will notice that in Genesis chapter 24, thereabout, Abraham gave strict instructions.
That's right.
And he did say that, I don't want you to pick a woman from this particular family.
Wow.
Pick a woman from this family for me. I'll tell you a story. When I made the choice, I was then at Trinity. I was then at the seminary. And then one Monday when we went to school, I had just spoken to my mother-in-law about it. When we went to school, then my syndicate mate, that's my group mate of blessed memory, said that, Eja, I learned you are going to marry. I said, me? Who told you? He said, Master, are you going to marry or not? And, I was stuck. And then I said, well, I am going to marry. He said, it's good you have spoken the truth. Other than that, I will have stepped into it. I said, David, what are you talking about? He said, Osofu, you know what? Yesterday, we went for a family meeting. And my big brother told us that her daughter has found somebody that they are going to, that they want to marry. But then, as custom demand, my wife is a Ghana. She comes from the most beautiful place in Ghana, Jamestown. You see, yes,
that's powerful.
And
place.
I was amazed what they did. Apparently, they had set a committee led by my course mate to go and investigate my background. So there and there, he told them that, if it is a Jekofosu, then I know him. Okay, let the committee do its work. So a committee from my in-laws family were sent to investigate my background because their daughter had informed them. I think that if we keep on saying that the current generation, we may be causing a lot of harm to people. I am not being tribalistic here. I'm a Kwewu. My wife is a Ga. But I think that it is very, very important we respect culture and tradition.
That's right.
You see, again, I'm a Christian. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14 says that I cannot be equally unyoked with an unbeliever. And therefore, if my child is going to marry, I need to know what kind of religion, the person is going into. And I think the baseline must always be set. Because I have come to believe that, Dollarich, marriage is not an antidote to sexual immorality. It is not an antidote to spousal abuse. It is not an antidote to laziness. It is not an antidote to things that are not normal today. And therefore, in making the choice, in making the selection, I have to make sure that I have chosen the right thing. Because after marriage, the person is not going to change. Have you changed after marriage?
This is serious.
Also, have you changed after marriage?
You.
It is a playing field for whatever you have learned from your parents. To exhibit whatever thing you have learned from your parents.
Wow.
So my wife is a harsh person, and I belong to the best team in the world, Kotoko. You see.
Oh, that one.
You see yourself. So it's like bringing two of us together to come and play on the field. We don't come on the field for me to tell my wife that you have to wear color red because I am Kotoko. As for Kotoko, we wear red, so you to wear red.
It's impossible.
You see, my wife, we don't get to the field, and then my wife begins to tell me that. The harsh slogan, Abache, Abache, you let them score as Abache. No, you see, that is their belief. Marriage ought to be a thing that, like I said earlier on, love where you give without expecting anything in return. If the baseline is not set correctly, you will always have a problem.
Wow.
So for me, the 3 lines that I said, where do you come from is important. What religion the person finds herself or himself in is important. What work that person does is very, very, very important. It contributes to the living aspect in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. If you don't live very well, you cannot cleave. And if you don't cleave, you cannot be naked. Most people are married, but they haven't left their parents. They are still emotionally, they are still attached to their parents. Most have left, some have left. They are unable to cleave. They are unable to join together. You understand? And some, to some extent, you see, if you don't cleave, there's no way you can be truthful, you can be naked to your spouse. So I maintain that the baseline for selection is very, very important.
Is surely important.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. I'll come back to a bit of it where the nakedness have to, be, some people, they still have some things around them. Covering their nakedness, and they are still in marriage though. But we'll come to that bit. You made something very profound. The process. You see, there are some people who feel they can just start anyhow, and as to however they end, that is none of their business. They are just going through. But is he talking about the process? Are there some 1 or 2 things you have to take note of? Are you supposed to be very careful of 1 or 2 things while you are in the process? Because some people are just walking and doing all sorts of things all together without observing the wind and doing all the correct things. I don't know what your take will be.
As Christians, I believe God expects us to be prayerful. And before you make any choice, you need to pray. And
That's it.
I said God is interested in our choices. Any move we made, God is very, very much interested. And as we pray, definitely, As we are going out and we are going through the process, we go out, we are friends, and so on and so forth. Some things are going to pump up. Some characters, if the person is abusive, the way he talks or the way she talks, the way she behaves, the way even she respects her mother, talk to her parents, and so on and so forth. These are some of the things that they are going to pump up, because we are human beings, and definitely there are some of the things that, some comments that we are going to make, and so on and so forth. So it is an eye-opening for each of us in a relationship as we go through the process. So you will know that this thing that is pumping up, no, I need to work at it. You don't just run away from it initially. You try to solve it. You try to work at it. And as you work at it and you find out that things are working and things are changing, then you can still go ahead. But when you are working at it, you are in fact trying to, bring out some issues that are pumping up in a relationship. And it's like your partner is saying, me dear sana me tie. Me sana ya tete me free me fee. Me papa dear sana or tiyo sana or de ware me mami. No, this is not about your mother and your father. It's about me and you. So when you begin to see some of these things pumping up and you try to solve it, it's not working. It should give you a signal that this thing that is happening, when we get hooked together at long last, it's still going to.
Wow.
It will stop here. And as I said, anything you see in relationship, either good or bad, when you get married, double it. Double it, because we normally say you see. So if during the friendship, the dating and the courtship, you are trying to please each other and so on and so forth, and you are saying all these things and you try to correct it and still it's not working, I believe it's because God speaks to us through many ways. God might not come down and say this person that you are getting yourself hooked to is not the right person, but at times, because you have studied yourself and you know where you are going and you know your kind of vision and your ministry, then you have to know that this thing, will it help me or not? One thing that we have to know is God doesn't, impress on us or force us to make a choice. God has given each one of us willingly to make our own choice. That's why he said, I place before you life and death.
But choose life.
Choose life. He made suggestion. Choose life. So you may do what? Live. Right. Choose life. So God is interested in our choices. But you should know that God will not just come down and say, no, this person is not the right person. But there are certain things that will pump in as we are going out, some characters and so on and so forth. You have to decide, either I'll go on or I will withdraw, because it is not too late. I normally say it's better to break relationship than to break marriage.
That's right.
Than to break marriage.
This is serious.
Yeah.
Wow. And the program still continues, and it is the weekend family review show right here on GTV Live. And as usual, we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow generation. It's all about you and your family. And we still have our WhatsApp line up screen and our Facebook page, Weekend Review with Dollarich. Just get connected with us. Let's do the show together. Earlier I said we have some of our videos on YouTube. So when you go to YouTube, you type in Weekend Family Review and you get to have some of the videos there. We are still updating the page, or I'm bringing more videos, so the ones there you can just go and have a peep of them and then learn what you can learn from them. And even as we do the show for your family and with your family and by the help of your family. And today we're actually discussing spousal choices and regrets, where sometimes you live with a person and along the line you go like, I wish I never. Reverend Ejeku, when you get to that place, now let's go critical. When you get to that place, and you begin to have these thoughts, how I wish I never got involved with you. What line of life have you got into now?
Yes, that is You see, like Kosofo said, if it is before the marriage, then usually there isn't much problem. But if it is after the marriage, then there will be a problem. It will mean that probably you didn't follow the guidelines. You see, and for me, I see 3 guidelines here. The first one is that marriage ought to be built on biblical standards. Marriage ought to be built on biblical standards. Number 2, I belong to a church. My church has certain beliefs and certain traditions. My marriage must be built on that.
Wow.
Number 3, I belong to a family. And it takes 2 families to marry, not 2 individuals. And therefore...
I wish you repeat that side.
Yes.
A bit of it, because I know a lot of people who feel he's found his own girl, he's found his own boy.
No.
And some of them do it minus the touch of the home and the family.
Let me share this mystery with you about marriage. You know, in Akan, we take what we call a tinsa. That is the bride price, and usually it is given in the form of a drink. In my congregation, my church, if I come to my mess, if my girl, if I come and marry from your family, the bride will have to come with a communion wine.
Wow.
You know, and what happens to this wine, both traditionally and then in the church, is that the wine that is given, the drink that is given as the bride price, the family drink it. Okay, they share it and drink it to institute the marriage. Should you decide to back out from the marriage, what it means is that they have to bring the drink back. Now, bringing the drink back, you don't go and buy a new drink, but you go to everybody that had drank the drink.
Wow.
You understand? In the church, we take Holy Communion. That is why I say that the marriage ought to be built on these guidelines. We take the Holy Communion. On the day of celebrating the Lord's Supper, we administer the Holy Communion with the wine to say that everybody in the church is part and parcel of your marriage. You understand? So that should you decide that, okay, I am backing out from the marriage, what it means, I will have to go to every church member. And yes, if I'm right to say, to vomit the drink, yes, so that we can go and dissolve the marriage. And that is why scripture says that it should not be entered with a very light mind. It should be entered after you have well reflected, over it. Talking about the regret, if it so happens that, you have made a mistake along the line, and for mistakes, we are human beings, we are bound to make mistakes. If it was during the the selection period, and you think that, no, I haven't gone far, and you shouldn't go far. In any case, you shouldn't what? You shouldn't go far. Because in Akan we say that I have only proposed that I'll marry, but we are not married yet. So we don't do things married couples do. We don't exchange things that we cannot retrieve back, especially emotional things, mental things. You have to be very careful in sharing these things. Now, what will bring some of the regret? For example, I have seen you, I admire you, your features, your personality, I admire it. But when we went into it, medically, our blood groups says that if you marry, it's going to create a problem. Yes, it's going to bring some sort of regret. I don't have to say that because I love you, I'm going to go on with it. You are only going to create problems for the children you are going to have. So it will mean that certainly you will have to come out. And that is why I advise Christian young men and women never to fall in love. How on earth, who in his normal sense in this life wish to fall down? So why do we fall in, if it comes to that, why do we fall? If you are not lucky and you fall on a slippery place, difficult to get up. I advise people to stand in love. If you are standing in love with eyes open, if it so happens that you have to back out, yes, you can back out. You can meet somebody And let me say this. I know people may disagree with me, but let me say this with all honesty. You may meet somebody that you have fallen in love with and your parent says no. You have to be very careful. Because it doesn't take two individual people to marry. It takes two families to marry.
Wow.
And that is why if it gets to spousal selection, we have to be very, very, very careful. The processes must be followed.
The process.
I have proposed to you. The next thing is to find out whether your family are going to accept me. You should also find out whether my family are going to accept you. All these things should be done by the two people. You don't travel without them. If you travel and along the line it gets to a point and parents say no, then there is a problem.
Wow.
You see. Now with the regrets, I have had a friend who incidentally he was a medical doctor. You see, he found somebody who wanted to marry the person. Oh, they were okay. Well, when they checked the blood group, he said no.
It's not possible.
They are still wonderful friends. Both of them are happily married. They have their families.
Wow.
And it works better. When dishonesty comes in, it can bring regrets. And certainly you will have to back up from that relationship, because like I said earlier on, marriage is not an antidote
to, that's right,
sexual immorality, alcoholism, smoking, and those things. So you have now met the person, you've seen the person smoking, so warrior, obejai. No. The person is unfaithful. If it comes to money, he comes to take money from you. He said, oh, I'll bring it tomorrow. You ask him and then he's angry, he shows off. You will have to be very careful.
Wow.
You never assume that, after marriage, it's going to change. You are in a relationship and you yourself, you know that this person has another girlfriend somewhere. And you said, oh, if we marry, because I'm going to give him sex every day, he will stop. No.
You are saying deep things, so.
My brother. And also, that is the truth.
Wow.
You see, and you marry, it's going to be worse. Little thing you had, the man has just proposed to you. He said, come meet me at 7 o'clock. You had a genuine problem when you were coming, your vehicle broke down. You are 1 hour late. You get there, he's so furious, he's so angry. He said, I won't even go to the party again, go home. He's left. You have to thank your God and leave and go back. Because you see, if you marry such a person, you're going to have a problem.
Wow.
The selection problem period needs to be thoroughly looked at.
Wow.
And that is why I believe that as a church, we have a duty, we have a role to play. We need to educate the youth. We need to talk about these things in the church for our younger ones to understand, some of these things. You don't just get up accidentally, you meet somebody and then no.
Doesn't happen that
it's very, very dangerous.
Wow.
It is very, very, very dangerous. Marriage is a full-time business.
It is.
It can never be a part-time business. And therefore, we need to look at the selection very. We are not talking about marriage in totality. We are only talking about spousal selection. So I'm very careful in talking about some of these things. We need to look at the selection period very careful. I believe that it should be guided by scripture. It should be guided by the church. It should be guided by the family.
That's right.
As family, they have their language they speak. I have my language I speak. The two of us, can we incorporate the two languages? You have your friends, I have my friends. Can our friendship merge up? What kind of friendship are you keeping? What kind of friendship am I keeping?
Wow.
I mean, are there things that can come on the same platform? Okay? Wow. We need to look at all these things. Academically, are we balanced? Age-wise, are we balanced? Cultural-wise, are we balanced? Religious-wise, are we balanced? Wow. I believe that if we look at all these things, it will minimize the regret.
Wow.
It will certainly minimize the regret. But if it so happens before the marriage, then don't hesitate. Back off. Because like Mama Osofo said, it is easier breaking a relationship than breaking marriage. Once you enter into the covenant, scripture says that that which God has put together.
Let no man
put
not
asunder.
even yourself.
That is, just imagine you going to the people to tell them that the wine you drank 10 years back, bring the wine back. How possible is that? It's not possible.
Wow. Now, Reverend Abnanya Meche, where somebody has gotten to that point of regret, let's say the foundation was bad, I mean, you don't go through the processes well, and maybe you overlook certain things, like Reverend Jaco is talking about the fact that if you do even involve families and you had your own way, you've gone to cohabit with this gentleman and you've had your way through, or you cohabited with this lady, you've had your way through. Now realities of life has set in. You are in this marriage or this relationship and you don't even know what to do. You have regretted. Do you go ahead and have that heat with you for the rest of your life? Do you turn back? What do you do? I mean,
I think we have to separate the two. Is it a relationship or is it married? Really? Are we married together? Are we married? Like,
so let's say for those who are in the marriage now,
they are in the marriage. Then you have to go the extra mile. You have a work to do.
Wow.
You have a work to do. You have to go the extra mile. You have to decide, now I have made the mistake. It's normal. We are humans. We are not perfect. You have to decide to work at it and to believe God.
Wow.
That fine, I've made the mistake. Lord, I've come to you. Please forgive me. I choose my own way, but now as the prodigal son, I've come back. I've come back. You coming back, you are coming back with labor, hard work. You are going to believe God that things are going to turn around, because I believe God can forgive us and God can solve things for us if we go His way. Yeah, if we go His way. So this time is just a comeback of coming back to yourself and knowing that I've made a mistake. Fine, I've made a wrong choice, but here I am. I'm married with a person, probably with kids. You are going to trust God and believe God that God, Bible said the heart of the man is in the hand of God. So God can turn and God can bring a change. I've witnessed a lot that by the grace of God, now things has turned around to be good on the positive side. So in this case, I would say you have to go back to God.
Go back to God.
Go back to God. And aside, after going back to God, or aside going back to God, you have to work. Work. It's not everything that prayer is good, and prayer has its own part to play in the marriage, but you also have to do your homework well. You have some responsibilities, either and fish out what is bringing the regret. Fish out, sit down, discuss issues, and think about what is bringing this problem to us, so we can work at it. I believe in working at issues rather than running away from it. So let's work at it. Let's believe God. And let's trust God that things will work out good for us.
To add to what Osofo has said, you see, I think that just like she's saying, once there is this regret, one of the things I challenge people to do, in addition to what she has said, is to bring in the church. You see, that is why the church exists. If you have been broken-hearted, yes, you need to be mended, and therefore you need support.
That's right.
Many people go to the extent of taking their lives. Yes, for some people they are unable to recover for the rest of their lives. But I think that as human beings we need to understand that trials and challenges will always come our way. If it does come, that is why the church exists. The church exists to support and bring healing to the doorstep of the broken-hearted, to the fainted ones, to people who are suffering from disappointments and all those things. So if you have regretted, fine. I think the next thing you have to do is that you go back to God, you apologize, you go to the minister or somebody who is willing to support you, and then deal with it by going through counseling. You see, as a student of psychology, I believe that the mind is such that what you feed the mind with affects the soul as well. So if you don't deal with it, it becomes a problem, a challenge. What will happen is that it's going to affect the next relationship you're going to find yourself in.
Wow.
So it's very, very important that we learn to deal with it by bringing in the church to come and support that individual person.
This is deep. Right. Now, the program still continues, and we'll soon wrap up, but this is the Weekend Family Review Show with me, Evangelist Johnny called Dollarich, and here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generation. Most of the time we have first-time viewers, and the program shows every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. That is in the morning, every Saturday in the morning at 8:30, and the repeat is at 7 p.m. That's in the evening at 7. 8:30 in the morning, 7 p.m. in the evening, every Saturday. Here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generation. We've been discussing spousal choices and regrets. Spousal choices and regrets. And I'm so blessed having Reverend Ejako Ofosu here, and my very own beautiful Reverend Abenanya Meche, and it's getting quite beautiful and interesting here. Now, this question is to the both of you. Let's look at it. I want us to look at that bit of where people enter into relationship minus family. You know, I've seen a couple of things for some time. I'm not too old into some of these things though, but having been I was about a decade in this family thing, I see one or two things, and if family are neglected, especially with this relationship thing, and it has some effect. For a start, let me take it from you. Is it healthy to run a relationship without your family?
It's not healthy at all. At all. It's not healthy at all, because you need to have the blessings of your parents, both parents. You can't ignore them. We come from a family. I come from a family. You, the man, also come from a family. There's no way we will say we will ignore our family and then build our own family, which is going to work. No, it won't work that way. It won't work that way. Not at all. And there's no blessing in it. There's no blessing in it. And definitely, you are going to face one challenge or the other. That you will need them. You will need your family back. And you have to go back to them. You see, and because you did not involve them, and they were not aware of what you did and where you are right now. I mean, it doesn't work. Even our culture does not permit that. Neither God. Because do you know that after God created Adam, and when God brought even Eve to them, when they sinned, Bible says God visited them at the cool of the day. At the cool of the day. So God was their parent, God was their father, and their man. God was involved in their relationship. So God was checking on them. Even though at that particular time, God knew where they were and God knew what they have done. But yes, God went ahead and asked them, where are you, Adam? Where are you? So there's no way you can do without the parent, the family. No, it won't work that way.
Thank you once again. Yes, you see, it's very dangerous to relegate your family if it comes to marriage. You know, in our country tradition, you give birth, and as a father, I know you don't even give your child a name. I need to go to my senior brother and ask him, what name should I give to my child? It means that, you know, I belong to a family, and my family has a stake in my life. There are two things here. You, as a Christian, you have to be very careful if you are entering into any marriage that has to do with an unbeliever. That is one. And number two, you have to be very careful if you are relegating your families down there. When we met as younger people, we were blessed. I was 30, my wife was 24 at that time. And then I told her something. I told her that, look, now you know what? I have the best family in the world. As for my father, he's the richest man. Oh. As for my mother, she's also the richest man. My sisters, and you know, my parents didn't give birth to plenty. They gave birth to only 8 of us. They are the best people in this world. And I don't speak ill about them because I believe that they are supposed to support me. So don't tell me any bad thing about your family. Only tell me good things about your family. You understand? Yes. Then the next thing I did was that, Dollarich, I come from one of the poorest homes. You see, and I didn't want to deceive my wife. So what I did was that as soon as she agreed to my proposal, I decided to drive her. My parents live at KJB in the Volta region. My father had been sick for over 16 years at that time. Wow. But what I did was that I drove my wife to the village for her to see that dilapidated house my father was living in. My mother was a farmer, and I'm proud of her.
That's right.
I never hide their identity. I made it known unto her. And we went there, and I remember when we got closer to the place, I noticed that, you know, my wife had not traveled she's a guy, you know, guys I understand don't travel far. They travel from Jamestown to Sioux and so on. Please don't go and tell them.
I don't tell them. They are not actually watching us.
You see, okay. You see, when we got to a place, I noticed that there was ghost bumps all over her body because we had traveled far. But God was good to me. When we got down, right when I stopped my car, the first person that approached my car was somebody who knew my wife. So she mentioned her name. She said, what are you doing here? And that gave her some hope. We visited our home. She saw my father in that state. She saw my mother in that state. She saw my sisters and my siblings in the state in which they are. And she says, I still love you.
Wow.
They were all parts of my marriage.
Wow.
Irrespective of your marriage, your family background, you don't relegate them.
Wow.
Because it takes 2 families to marry. It is dangerous. In the future, if you have a problem, you may not have any place to go to. If you speak ill about your parents to your spouse, and he starts beating you, he knows that after all, your parents don't like you.
They don't even support you.
They don't support you. So he will beat you and beat you very well because you don't have any place to run to. So be careful what you tell.
This is food for thought.
Parents.
This is deep. We'll revisit this issue in another time. And I want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to Reverend Ejakun Ofosu for passing through and be a blessing to us on this show. Rev, we are so grateful. Thank you so much.
I am grateful too.
Wow. And my beautiful Reverend Abina Nyameche, the firewoman, also being a blessing to our Reverend. Thank you so much for coming. Our time is fast spent, but we'll revisit the bit of the family issue in another time. And then viewers, thank you so much for being part of the show. And I want to leave here by saying that no matter what is happening to you, trust God and always believe Him. And let me salute Bishop Charles Ajinasari, Perez Chapel, and Reverend Christy Do Tete, and Reverend Josephine Aqua of all of Solid Rock Chapel, and Reverend Boating Sapon. Reverend Boating Sapon, ICGC. You are such a good father. Thank you so much. Reverend Helena Klu Abene, also of ICGC. I can't mention everybody's name, but you know what? You guys are doing awesome. And thank you for your prayer and your guidance for me. And not to leave by saying that Bishop Dr. Yao Owusu Ansa, my father. I mean, you are such an awesome person. Thank you so much. I know God is doing great things with you, and you are strong to the Lord, and God is really blessing the family. Wherever you are, I salute you, I salute you, I salute you. And viewers, we see you same time next week. But remember, God is still on His throne, and you will always win. As I always say, you will never be defeated. God bless you. We'll see you same time next week.
He has given me victory. Oh, my God has given me victory. He has given me Days of my life I praise you. Everything that I have now you gave to me, Baba. Lord, I say for your love I'm grateful. Yes, you love me plenty, you came to die for me. Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Nissi, I am that I am. Ooh, oh, I searched around, there's no one else like you. Lion of Judah, you're the man.
God has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
God has given me victory.
God has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
Hallelujah. 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 Come and see what the Lord has done for me. He has taken away my sorrows and now I'm free. I got me, hallelujah, bro. I got my hallelujah, power. Because of Jesus, every day now shakara they do. Double, heavenly blessings now him I they receive. Ah, yeah. God, in your grace and mercy is always to follow me. Yeah. He has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
God has given me victory.
God has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
Hallelujah. 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 If Jesus has given you victory, come let's dance, let's give him praises now. If Jesus has given you victory, come let's dance, let's give him praises now. Because of Jesus, every day now shakara they do. Double, heavenly blessings now him I they receive. Ah, yeah. God, in your grace and mercy is always to follow. Yeah.
God has given me victory.
He has given me victory. Oh, my God has given me victory. Oh, He has given me victory.
He has given me victory.
Hallelujah. 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 Because of Jesus, every day now shakara they do. Double, heavenly blessings that him I they receive. Ah, yeah. God, in your grace and mercy is always to follow me.